Hello friends, welcome back to Minnie in the Mountains. Today we are going to be making the cutest little bag that I think I have ever made. It is perfect for date nights. It is perfect for on-the-go trips. It's perfect for if you just don't like a big bag and you just want to carry your essentials with you. We got it covered. I'm talking about the Magnolia Ray Traveler Pouch by Sunshine Stitches. This bag can be used in four different ways. The first option, you have this little slip connector piece. Jen, what's that used for? You use this. We make this in the pattern. Again, what's it used for? I'll show you. You got a cute little tumbler pouch. Heck yes. That's option one. Option two, you can pull this little strap out, all the way out, and add a little wristlet strap. Now you can go on a dinner date. You can go with your girlfriends. You get some margaritas and you got a cute little pouch on your wrist. Option three, a crossbody bag. The cutest little crossbody bag, if you ask me. Three different options. The one that I thought of afterwards, using this little slip here, instead of making the tumbler holder, you can use a 1-inch wide strap of webbing, masculine this bag up, and use a strip of webbing to make a belt bag for your favorite guy in your life. Father's Day is coming up. You can make it for a chick too. It's all good. Whoever. So many options. I absolutely love this bag. Let us talk about the components that this little bag has to offer. First and foremost, I'm going to say a word that is going to terrify some of you, but don't click away. Don't click away. This is a bound bag. Don't click away. I used to be terrified of binding too. And now it's probably one of my favorite ways to finish a bag. It is bound. I do give you tips and tricks how to bind in this pattern. Let's go over it. So first off, I used one zipper pull on this bag. This was the first one that I had done, and as you can clearly see, I used 2 zipper pulls. So whichever one you want to go with, you can go with. So one zipper pull here, and you've got that little slip connector in the back there for your water bottle holder or a belt bag. You open it up, and it's a nice wide opening, and it's got 3 card slots just for your essential cards. Like I said, it is bound, and I know that binding around the zipper especially scares the bejesus out of people. Again, I give you tips on how to do it. There are these connectors on the side that are installed in a super fun, super unique way. We don't stitch through these, so don't get nervous. But I love the connectors. I think they are so cool looking. This is a less than 1 bobbin bag, which is great. And I would rate this as an adventurous beginner bag. You do need to have some practice with installing a zipper and some curves. And if you have any kind of binding under your belt, you're gonna be golden. This bag does fit a cell phone. I have an iPhone 16 Plus and it fits perfectly in this bag. I wanna say a big thank you to Sunshine Stitches for allowing me to film this video and use your pattern in my tutorials. I love this bag and I cannot wait to see what you come up with next. Brenna from Sunshine Stitches has so generously given us a discount code. Use code MINIMOUNTAINS10 for some money off during checkout. The code is only good through May 25th, so go grab the pattern now so you can save. If you like my content, please give this video a big thumbs up. Questions, comments, shout outs, leave them down below. And please consider clicking subscribe and hit that bell icon so you are notified of any time that I upload a new video. Okay, go raid your fabrics, pick stuff out, go cut out all the pieces, and then meet me at the machine. Let's go over everything that we're going to need to make this Magnolia array. And I have some prep steps too that you can follow along with. So first we need a front and a back cut of our main pieces. And I also have fusible foam fused to the back of them. And in the pattern, she gives you just the measurements, the rectangles to cut out. So I went ahead and rounded it with the template that she provides in the pattern, or you could get the rounded template from Oakley Roots. So go ahead and do that. And then we also need lining piece for the back panel. I overcut mine and I will cut it down when we get to that point. Next, you're going to need a zipper panel that also has fusible foam fused onto the back out of the seam allowance, and then one lining cut of our zipper panel. We have a lower gusset piece with one exterior, again with foam out of the seam allowance and one lining. And then we have a long piece for our card slots. Mine is just folded over. And I have fused craft fuse to the back of it. I just like, since this is a cotton woven, I do like the way that the craft fuse makes it feel. It's almost like paper. And then you have two cuts of our card slot lining pieces that will go on either side of the card slots. So two cuts of our lining, one cut of our card slot. And then we have our two connector pieces. These are the D-ring connectors. I've drawn the line down the back of them. So two cuts. And then we have a piece for that back connector, which will be the slide-in slot for the water bottle holder if you decide to put it on your water bottle. So one cut of that. And you also need a cut for your wristlet strap. And I did draw the line as instructed in the pattern. We'll get to that point and we'll talk about it. One cut of webbing for our water bottle holder. Two cuts of my contrast vinyl. That will be for either end of that water bottle holder. And then this hook and loop tape, which will also go on there. And then I have this mess. I have my webbing for my crossbody strap. I am using 1.5 inch webbing. I just find 1.5 is a little more comfortable than 1 inch webbing, but you do what you'd like. And I have two cuts that are 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch for the ends of the webbing. And I decided I'm going to do a fancy strap, so I did some fancy strap cuts. These are from the templates from Oakley Roots. And then of course a 58 inch piece of webbing, and I just lopped off 8 inches of it since I am doing that fancy strap. Let's go over the rest of the stuff that we are going to need. You're going to need a cut of zipper tape. Mine is by the yard, so I will cut it down when I need it. You're also going to need some kind of binding, either bias binding, or I'm just using this fold over elastic from Saya Swag. We're going to need some rivets, and then you're going to need 2 1/2 inch D-rings for our side connectors. And I'm just using one zipper pull today. The pattern actually calls for 2, but I only have one of that and it's perfect, and one will do just fine. And then you also need one 1 inch rectangle ring for that water bottle strap, a 1/2 inch wide snap hook for our wristlet strap, 2 1 inch wide snap hooks for our crossbody strap. And since I am doing that fancy strap, I'm also going to use a 1.5 inch wide D-ring, a 1.5 inch wide strap adjuster. I have my nameplate, and then I got this hook and loop big bolt here from Amazon. I'll link it below. It's a really good deal. It just sticks to itself, which is nice. And then I have all my marking tools, regular pen, air erasing pen, vinyl marking pen, and then my favorite lighter ever to burn the threads or vinyl if need be. And then of course we have our double stick tape, 1/4 inch wide and 1/8 inch wide double stick tape. Don't mind all the fuzzies that get stuck to it. And then of course some clips. I just got these from Jackson Lowe, and these are great for this bag because they're nice and small, and that's what this bag is, and they are mighty. I also will be using Tech 70 thread from Saya Swag. I believe in camel. I lost the little thing that goes on the top to tell me what color it is. And it will all be sewn on my Juki 1181N. I'm going to follow the pattern exactly, page by page. So page 6 tells you to round off the corners of your exteriors and your liners and go ahead and fuse all of your pieces with the fusible foam. And then it also gives you a placement of where you can put your tag. Obviously you can put your tag wherever you would like if you're even choosing to put one on. Just remember, if you're using a prong back tag, to back it with either some tape or some interfacing. So I got my front together and let's move on. On page 7, grab your 2 D-ring connector pieces and your 2 1/2-inch D-rings. Flip the connectors over, draw a line down the middle on both of them, and then add some 1/4 inch wide double stick tape directly on top of that line. Remove the backing and fold those long edges to that midpoint line. Do that on both your pieces. Once we have them folded, you should have, the back should look like this with the raw edges towards the center. We're going to take both these pieces to the machine and we're going to top stitch down each of the long edges, back stitching at the beginning and the end. We got them all top stitched on both sides. Flip them over so you're looking at that seam side, and take some 1/4 inch wide double stick tape and a little higher than just that. Normally I would just put it on the bottom to keep them together, but you'll see why when we get to it, when we get to this step of attaching them. I take it to almost halfway up and then slide on your D-ring, remove the backing, and match up the raw edges and press them down, making sure everything stays nice in line. Now we can set those to the side. Grab your back connector piece, and from the short sides, be careful, this is a rectangle, not a square. From the short sides, draw a line down. So hot dog wise, not hamburger wise. Take some double stick tape. In the pattern she says 1/4 inch tape, and stick it right down that line. It's going to use 1/8 inch wide on either side of that line. And now, just like our connectors, we're going to remove the backing and fold those longer edges to that midpoint line that we drew. Do that on both sides. Now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch down both long edges, and we're going to top stitch 1/8 inch away from that midpoint line. My first thought when I saw that was, well, I just want to do that. I don't want 2 rows of top stitching. No, we need it, because this is going to be the inside of the back connector piece where we put for our water bottle. And if we don't top stitch that and we try to slide that through over time, those are going to pop up just from the double stick tape, and getting your connector through is not going to be an easy task. So just do the 4 rows of top stitching, back stitch at the beginning and the end. So this is what our back connector piece should look like from the front. This is what it should look like from the back with those 4 rows of stitching. One more thing that we need to do is, from one of these short edges on the back side, draw a line 3/8 inch up. On the wrong side, 3/8 inch up. Continuing on page 8, grab your cut of webbing for our tumbler strap, our 2 cuts for the ends of the tumbler strap, and then 2 cuts of that hook and loop. Let's put the hook and loop off to the side for a second. Find the midpoints on those little end cuts and stick some double stick tape on both sides. Go ahead and remove the backing. Put one end of our webbing up to that line. Remove the backing on the other end of that little tab and fold it over. Repeat for the other side. I forgot to say you're gonna need your 1-inch rectangle ring. Sorry. Slip your rectangle ring on the right hand side, and we're gonna fold that over to 1.5 inches. And now we're gonna stitch on this vinyl piece. In the pattern, it says to do 2 rows along the folded edge and the raw edge. I'm just gonna do a box because when I do the parallel lines, it tends to look messy for some reason. So go ahead and stitch that. Once we have the right end stitched to our D-ring or a rectangle ring, I should have mentioned you're going through everything when you fold that over. Go to your other end and just stitch that down in the exact same manner that we did on this side, but without the rectangle ring. Okay, page 9, take our tumbler strap and rotate it 180 degrees, and then take one of our hook and loop pieces, our 4-inch pieces, and add a strip of 1/4 inch wide double stick tape right down the center. Remove the backing and place that hook and loop piece right up against that strap end without the D-ring connector. So go ahead and just lay it down, match up all the sides of the webbing with the hook and loop piece. And now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to stitch on the hook and loop through the webbing and the hook and loop at 1/8 of an inch away. Go all around that rectangle, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, once we have that stitched down, we need to make a mark. Disregard that mark. I reread the pattern, marked that wrong. So from the end of our tab here at the very end, match up our 5.5 measurement. See what I did before is I measured from the end of the tab. Nope, not. The very end. 5.5 inches, and make a mark on that webbing. Now take our other hook and loop piece, do the same thing, add a strip of 1/4 inch wide double stick tape, remove the backing, and line it up with that mark that we just made. Okay, just like this one, we're going to stitch around at 1/8 of an inch and backstitch at the beginning and the end. Our tumbler strap is completed. We can put that aside. Moving on to page 8, where we make our crossbody strap. Remember, I'm doing mine slightly different than in the pattern, so if you're doing it like the pattern, just follow that. If you want to try it this way, you totally can. I have my 8-inch cut since I'm doing that fancy strap, and then my longer 54-inch, my 2 fancy strap ends. These 2 pieces that will be the end coverings, my 2 1-inch swivel clasps, a 1.5 inch rectangle ring, and a 1.5 inch slider. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, just like a normal strap, feed one of the ends through my slider bar, and instead of folding it over like this, which we totally can, I'm going to take one of these ends here, and I've burned all the edges since it's going to remain raw, and I'm going to add some 1/4 inch wide double stick tape to both sides of that line. Remove the backing and put the webbing almost to that line. Remove the other side and fold it around. Now I'm going to take this to the machine and sew in a box just around that one end. So once I have that little box sewn down, I'm going to take this rivet placement tool from Carolina Little Stitches, and I'm just going to line it up, add some rivet holes, and then I'm just going to fold this over. I'm going to punch a hole. I know I make a lot of you nervous when I do this on webbing. And then since I don't have a Dremel or anything, I'm going to open it back up, burn my webbing to prevent fraying. And then put some rivets in. Okay, I'm gonna go set those rivets. Now working with the shorter piece, I'm gonna repeat those exact steps that we just did on our longer piece, except instead of using the strap adjuster, we're gonna use the rectangle ring. And also, if you didn't want to use rivets, any of these parts, what you would do is just take this, feed it through, fold it over to where you want it to be, and then go ahead and stitch your box. But since I'm going to use rivets, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it the exact same way that I did the other one. I'm taking both of our lengths with the wrong side of the strap adjuster, one facing up, and the right side, I want to have this facing up. The right side of this little one, our little cut, facing up. Go all the way down to the other length of that long strap, making sure it's not twisted. Feed it through our rectangle ring, pull it all the way back, and then go up the left side of the slider and down the right. Pull it, and now our strap, that's all we have to do is put the ends on. Take one of your snap hooks and feed it on, and then one of our free ends, take that and just position it to where it fits. Flip it over and match up the edges as best we can. Now we're going to take that to the machine and we're going to stitch around this whole piece, going as close to the hardware as we can. And then once we do that, we're going to go to the other side with our remaining piece, feed it on, fold it over, and then stitch it, and then our strap will be done. Our fancy strap is done. I will link Jess's video down in the description in case you haven't seen it on her fancy straps for a little more in depth, but we can go ahead and put our strap to the side. Page 11, we are going to make our wristlet strap. So take your 1/2 inch swivel clasp and your long piece for your wristlet strap. You're going to, from one long edge, draw a line that's 1/2 inch in from that long edge, and then take some 1/8 inch wide double stick tape, and place it to the right of that line, so on the thicker portion. And then also take some 1/8 inch wide double stick tape and put it right on the edge of the raw part of that thinner portion, so to the left of that line. And if you noticed, I didn't go all the way to the end with my double stick tape. We're gonna see if I regret that. Take the double stick tape off of the one to the right of that line on the thicker portion, and fold that long edge right to that line all the way down. Remove the backing off of that other long piece against the raw edge, and we're going to bring that portion, the raw edge, to meet the raw edge, or the folded edge. So one edge will be raw, and press that all the way down. I added some clips as well. Now we are going to feed our swivel clasp on, and now opening up these short edges, match up the ends, the short ends, right sides together, and we're going to sew. Make sure that your swivel clasp is facing the inside of your wristlet strap. We're going to sew those short sides at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Once we have that sewn, press that seam flat and refold our strap. And now we just need to top stitch. We're going to top stitch from the inside down both sides, so all the way around, flip all the way around, making sure to move your swivel as we go. I like to start somewhere near that seam. Use a hump jumper if you need. It's all top stitch on both sides, looking lovely. Now take your swivel clasp and move it about 3/4 inch away from that seam, so it's kind of in a ditch. The seam should be on the backhand side. And I like to throw some clips. I like to go about 1/4 to 3/8 inch away from that swivel clasp. I'll place a mark and punch a hole, making sure not to punch it through our stitches. And take my rivet and go and set that, and our wristlet strap is done. Moving on to page 13, grab your back exterior panel, and on the wrong side, make sure that you have your top and bottom notches marked for the centers. On the back side, find your center mark on the bottom and mark a line that is 4 1/4 inches up. Okay, at the top of that line, we're going to make some horizontal marks. So at the top, line up your ruler with that line at 1 1/8 and make a mark across that goes to 2 1/4. From that horizontal line that we just drew, measure up another 1 1/8. So line up that line that we just drew with 1 1/8 and make another horizontal line that's 2 1/4. So this is how it should look. Take an X-Acto knife or some kind of really sharp tool, and we're gonna cut on those marks very carefully. I am not going to start right at that point. I'm gonna start like right inside of it because we want this to be tight. Just take your time, go nice and slow. Once we have those cut, take your back connector piece and put it right sides together with our exterior and find your top cut and feed that connector inside of it so that that slit matches up with that 3/8 of an inch mark that we made earlier. We're going to stitch right below that line, right below that slit at 1/8 of an inch. We are not going to go outside where the connector is. If you go past that connector, you will see your stitches. So just 1/8 of an inch away, staying within the connector, back stitch well at the beginning and the end. All right, can you see our stitching right there? I did not go past that connector, and that's what it looks like from the back side. Okay, now take your connector piece, fold it down, and feed it through the bottom slit. And from the back side, we want this to come up like so. And we want this bottom to go about 1/8 of an inch above that slit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double stick tape, 1/8 inch wide, onto the connector. And I'm going to pull this up so that it's about 1/8 of an inch above that slit. So from the front side, this is what we're looking like. So from the front, we're going to take our connector, and on the connector, we're going to stitch these long edges here at 1/8 of an inch away, 1/4 inch away as well. Make sure it's lined up nice. I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. So I did just go ahead and put the 2 rows, one at 1/8 of an inch, another about 1/8 of an inch away from that one. This one was a little bigger, but that's okay. As long as our strap fits into it, this is where this will go. It is going to be a snug fit, but as long as it fits, you golden. Okay, so that's how it looks from the front. That's how it looks from the back. Card slots. On page 15, grab your card slot piece, and I recommend marking which end is your top. She has some measurements given in the pattern, so go ahead and mark those, and when you do, just make a little dash, make little dashes in your seam allowance for all of those measurements. Once you have those marked, find your second set of dashes and fold them wrong sides together. And make sure all this is nice and flat, the edges are matching up nice, and you can take that to your iron and press that. For the sake of this video, since my ironing board is not clipped, I'm just gonna throw some clips. Okay, now, once you have that ironed, you can top stitch. I'm gonna save all my top stitching for doing it all at once. Once you have that pressed and top stitch, if you would like, go to the next set of dashes and fold wrong sides together. Again, making sure that everything is straight. Press, or in my case, clip and top stitch if you would like. And then the last set of dashes, do the same thing. Pinch, wrong sides together, making sure everything is lined up. Okay, so now we should have 3 peaks. I'm gonna go ahead and press these really quick. While I was pressing, I just went ahead and top stitched each peak, 1/8 of an inch away, back stitch at the beginning and the end, all 3. So now what we need to do is find where you marked your top, bring this first peak up to those first dashes, the first measurement that was in the pattern. Bring those up and line up the sides nice. And from that top, I'm going to use my handy dandy little 1/2 inch ruler from Carolina Little Stitches. And I'm going to make some marks a 1/2 inch down from that last fold, that first card slot fold. Okay. See, we got 1/2 inch down from the top of the fold. Bring the second peak up to those notches that we just made, and same deal from the top of that second pocket, a 1/2 inch down. Make some notches, some little marks. Okay, and bring your third peak up to those marks. Go give this a quick press. Continuing with the card slots, page 16. Once we have it all pressed, our card slots nice and neat, I clip down both of the raw edges, and we're going to just baste those in place to hold them all together, making sure we go all the way down. It's easiest, I find, if you go from the bottom up. You get less slippage that way. So bottom up on both sides, we basted 1/8 of an inch away from each of the raw edges. All of the card slots are caught. Now it's always good practice to test and make sure that you folded everything at the right time. So I'll do this a couple times just to make sure. Grab our 2 side card slot pieces. Right sides together, take one of your side panels and line it up with the top edge of your card slots. Clip in place. Go ahead and clip the whole way down. There is going to be some overhang. That's perfectly fine. Once you have that clipped in place, take your other side panel and again, right sides together, line up that top edge and clip down that side. We're going to sew down these long edges at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Backstitch at the beginning and the end. Start from the top to make sure that that top all stays in line. You can see we have overhang. Don't worry about it. All right, now taking your side panels, push them away from the card slots. And we are going to top stitch on that side panel at 1/8 of an inch away. I'm going to use a 5 stitch length, and I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. All right, I did top stitch down both of those side panels. Now, once again, I'm going to test my cards now that it's all stitched the way it needs to be. Beautiful. We're still on page 16, so we need to baste this to the exterior piece. Okay, what it says to do in the pattern is take your front exterior, lay it on top, and trim around it. What I like to do is take this piece, fold it in half, find the center of that card slot. This is going to go on the front piece. I'm going to match up the centers. And along that top edge. Now, since we have that foam in there, it's going to eat up some of the space, which is good. So our panel here should be the same width if you did your seam allowances correctly. So I just go around, hook this together. Same on the other side. And then on the bottom, I'm just going to throw some clips kind of in the center there where that overhang gets. Now I'm going to go directly to the machine, and I'm going to baste around this whole exterior piece at 1/8 of an inch away, and that will connect the front to our card slot panel. And then I'll just trim away anything that's overhanging. Front panel is now connected with the card slots. It's so cute. I love this tie-dye. Okay, now we just need to do the exact same thing for our back panel. Both front and back panels are attached to their respective linings. We are all done with these. Just make sure that your midpoint marks are visible, so just cut out that lining. Put these to the side while we work on our zipper panel. Okay, grab your zipper panel exterior piece, your zipper panel lining, and a cut of zipper tape. There is a measurement in the pattern for how long your zipper tape should be. I just overcut mine because it's easier to work with when we put the pull on, which we're not going to do right yet. I also put some double stick tape on the edges of my panels where my zipper will go. Just remember, your zipper is going to be on the front end. So take your exterior piece, and if you have double stick tape on it, go ahead and remove that. Take your zipper and right sides together, lay it on top of your panel. If you're not using double stick tape, just go ahead and clip this. And if you're not using the double stick tape, go ahead and baste that on at 1/8 of an inch. And then take your lining piece and remove the double stick tape if you're using it. And match up the two panels, sandwiching that zipper or clip. Okay. Now along that side where our zipper is sandwiched, we are going to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from that side, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Once we have that stitched down, we're going to press our lining and exterior wrong sides together. So I like to start with my exterior, kind of give it a finger press, push that seam down, and then bring my lining up and I like to clip all the way around this piece. We're going to need it anyways because these pieces need to become one. Once we have it clipped together all nicely, we are going to stitch down 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper tape, and we're going to continue stitching around. When I start, I'm actually going to start like over here because this will be hidden in the seam, so you won't see my back stitch. So I'm going to go around 1/8 of an inch all the way. Here's our top stitch and all the way around. Looking lovely. Now we need to put our zipper pull on. If you're just using one like me, I want mine to close to the left, so I'm going to insert it from this side. If you're using two, you're going to insert from both sides. That was all page 17. Zipper pulls installed, and I did trim down my zipper tape just slightly since it was way overhanging. I do like to still have some excess hanging over that will get caught in the seam, and I did burn the edges. Okay, so moving on to page 18, we're going to grab those two D-ring connectors that we prepared earlier. On the back put some 1/4 inch wide double stick tape. I did go pretty far up. Do that on both of them. And then also make a mark on the short edges, 1/4 inch. I do this on the right side of the connectors. Now let's work one at a time. On your zipper panel, find the 1/4 inch mark and line up this edge, this folded over edge, with the 1/4 inch. Take the backing off of one of your connectors and lay it down, matching up that 1/4 inch mark that we drew with the edge of your panel. And then press it down up against your ruler at 1/4 inch. We're going to make some rivet marks from the top of our, you can't even see it, from the top of our D-ring. Measure down 5/8 of an inch and make a dot. Try and get it as centered as you can. Again, from the top of that connector piece, the D-ring, measure down 1 1/4 inches and make a mark. Punch the holes and then go ahead and put our rivets in. So we can go ahead and set those rivets, and then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Place it 1/4 inch up from that zipper panel, align our mark here to the end of the panel, and then place rivet markings at 5/8 of an inch from the top by the D-ring, and then 1 1/4 inch also from the top. Put your rivets in and set them. So our zipper panel should now look stunning. Now moving on to page 19, we need our bottom gusset, exterior, and liner pieces. Take your exterior piece, take that exterior piece and flip it right sides together with your zipper panel. Here's the thing. My panels this one does, almost never line up exactly, and that is okay. If you have that, just center it as best as you can with the same overhang on both sides, and so it can get fixed when we are putting it all together. We're going to baste the exterior to the zipper panel first. It could get thick, especially where this connector comes into play, so a hump jumper may really help you. Okay, we got our basted. I did have to use my hump jumper because I got kind of thick. Now take your lining piece and put linings right sides together, match up the short edges, and clip. Now again, we are going to go 1/4 inch at a normal stitch length, normal construction stitch, which for me is a 4. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. Again, use this guy. He's going to be your best friend right there. Okay, we got that stitched at 1/4 inch. Now we need to just flip these wrong sides together. Just line them up nice, making sure that lining is all the way pulled out. And now we're going to top stitch at 1/8 inch away from that fold. Back stitch at the beginning and the end, and again, hump jumper. We got that side all top stitched on the exterior. Now we just need to repeat the exact same steps for the other side. So bring your exterior up, match up all the edges with your zipper panel, based at 1/8 of an inch, and then take your other free end of your lining bottom gusset, match up all the edges, stitch at 1/4 of an inch, back stitching at the beginning and the end, flip it, and then top stitch as we did on that side. Okay, both sides are top stitched. Beautiful. Now we need to connect these two pieces. So on your bottom gusset, just clip the lining to the gusset all the way around. It's going to seem like there is more lining gusset than there is exterior. You just got to pull it taut and clip it together. Go ahead and do the same for the other side. Now that we've got them all clipped, we're going to go and we're going to baste 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I like to baste from the inside, from the lining. Baste all the way around up to the zipper panel here, and then do the same on the other side. Bottom gusset all basted together, top zipper gusset all basted together. Now all we have to do is find our centers, so fold them so that our seams where the gussets meet are connected, and then pull down. If you have thicker materials, this could be difficult, but you can do it. And then just make a little knot and then flip it over. Same on the other side of the bottom. Pull your zipper panel nice and taut. And then I also do the same for the zipper. I do fold it and I make just the slightest notch in the zipper. And then since I did cut that little notch, I take my lighter and just right in the middle of where I cut, you burn it so it won't fray. Okay, it is time to put this beauty together. Take one of your panels. I always like to start with the front and our gusset loop and flip this wrong side out again. And now open your zipper. Take your zipper piece, your free end of your zipper, and match up the center marks on the zipper, right sides together with the center marks on our panel. I put a couple of clips right at the center. Just to hold it. And now go down to the bottom. And again, your gusset right side together with the exterior main panel. Sorry, this is hard to see. And clip. Okay. Now we're going to start easing it in. For this bottom gusset, I am going to make some snips, especially because my vinyl is a little more stiff. I am not going any deeper than where my basting stitches are, because we only have 1/4 of an inch seam allowance as our final, so we don't want to go any deeper than that. Just around those corners, I'm making snips. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, now that I made those snips, I'm actually going to start with the zipper, easing the zipper in, just because it's a little easier. I'm not going to make snips into my zipper. I know we made that center one, but that was it. So push the edge of the zipper to the edge of our panel. and just ease this around. That's why these little clips are so nice, because you can get a bunch in there, even though they're not going to stay there forever, because we are going to staple. But we want to get a feel for where it needs to go. So just continue easing. Easing it around. Now we're getting to that curve. So since we made those snips, I'm putting my hand on the inside and kind of pushing that gusset up. And it'll help, those snips will help the gusset to spread. All right, we got half the back clipped. We're going to do the exact same thing to this side. Ease that zipper in and then push our gusset to match up with the other side. Okay, once it's all clipped, you could just go in and you could either base this at 1/8 of an inch all the way around, trim up any discrepancies, and then go at your 1/4. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to replace the clips with staple. I'm going to go in the seam allowance just about 1/8 of an inch away and just add staples all the way around, all the way around. Staples just really help, especially when you're dealing with curves, to keep it all nice. And then you can go right in with your full seam allowance. Pretty nifty trick. Okay, I got the staples all in there acting as our basting stitch. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to sew at our full 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. I'm going to sew just like this with the panel, the main lining panel, against the bed of my machine and go slow. Even though those staples are there, I'm still going to take my time, especially around those curves, and making sure that I'm keeping a consistent seam allowance around the zipper, and move the pull if you need. Make sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, go around once we have that all stitched. Go around and make sure that all the edges are lined up still. If they're not, just go ahead and trim up anything that needs to be trimmed. Let's see, even down here, even with the staples, it kind of slipped a little. That's okay. I'm just gonna go and make it all nice and even. So we want it even when we get our binding on. Once it's all nice and trimmed up, if you're like me and you use staples, go ahead and remove all those staples now. Okay, staples out. Now grab your binding, whatever binding you're using. Like I said, I'm using this double fold elastic. So when I put it on, I'm not going to put it anywhere. I'm not going to start it. I would normally start my binding up at the top because you can't see it. But since the zipper is there, I'm not going to start there. Instead, I'm going to start like right here below the zipper, so it doesn't come anywhere near where that zipper is and add extra bulk. So just go around and start clipping. When I use this double fold elastic, I like to slightly stretch it, especially around those corners, to get them real nice and pretty looking. And keep your seam in the middle. If you're using double fold elastic, there's like a little line. Keep your seam right there. If you're using bias binding, just follow the folds. If you're using waterproof canvas, fold it before so you know where your center mark is, and keep that seam in the center. Once we get up to the zipper, I'm not going to keep that seam in the center since the zipper is right there and it opens with that. So instead of keeping it to the center, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push that middle seam so that there's a little bit more on the back, just to ensure that when we open and close this, our zipper won't get stuck on that double fold elastic anywhere. So just making sure that that raw edge of the elastic is like nowhere near the teeth, still stretching around that curve. Now I'm almost back to where I started. So I'm going to take my binding and I'm going to cut it like an inch or so past where I started. And then with this double fold elastic, I do like to kind of singe the ends just to make sure that it doesn't fray at all. Keep clipping. And then I'm just going to include that bottom portion and try and get the edges to line up as best as I can. So we're gonna, when we sew this on, I'm gonna sew it just like I did with the gusset piece to the front, with the bed of my machine on this back portion, just like this. And we're gonna sew again at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you're worried about perforating, since we're using vinyl, if you're worried about that, just go slightly less than a 1/4 inch. So go slightly to the right of our seam allowance if you're worried. I've done one prior to this where I just kept it at the 1/4 inch and it is perfectly fine. So I'm gonna go in 1/4 inch, sew all the way around. Okay, just turn your bag over and make sure you caught everything right here where I started and stopped. I did not catch that back end, which happens quite often, sadly. So I'm just gonna throw a clip and just go right back over that part, making sure to catch it. Okay, so I caught it now, all nice and neat. Now at this point, I like to flip the bag, A, to get a little preview of what it's gonna look like, B, to make sure that there are no pleats, and also to make sure that our zipper closes easily and we don't need to adjust the binding. If your zipper sticks at all, go ahead and you can fix your binding at this point. But just test it out, make sure. It looks so cute. It looks so cute. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, go ahead and flip it back out. Make sure again that your zipper is open. Don't continue on if your zipper is closed. Now we need to repeat those exact same steps with our back panel. Again, matching up our center marks. right sides together, clip all the way around, staple if you would like, and then go in sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then add our binding. I forgot to mention when you're doing this step, don't forget to clip into your gusset around the curves and the top as well. Since we don't have that zipper there, we can make snips into there. Don't go deeper than 1/8 of an inch. Don't cut your basting stitches. That's how you know you've gone too far. Both sides are attached and bound. Now all we need to do is flip it out. Be careful. Don't put too much stress on where your zipper is. Use a hair dryer if you need. Really pop out those corner bits and kind of press on that seam to get it flat, or as flat as it can be. Look at how freaking cute this is. Adorable. Now you just need to determine how you want to wear it. If you want to use that tumbler strap, make sure that the hook and loop portion of it is facing the back panel. Push it through that connector. It's going to be a tight fit. It's supposed to be. And then you would put your water bottle in there, loop it through that rectangle ring, and push down. And then I can just hang it on your water bottle. Or of course, we can use the wristlet strap or our crossbody. It's so cute. It's so cute. Did you love making it? How did the binding go? How did the curves go? I love it. I had so much fun sewing this. And if you're not going to use it for your tumbler or for a belt bag, just leave that part off. Don't do it. If you're not going to use a wristlet strap, don't make the wristlet strap. Totally customizable, up to you. It's your bag. Determine how you're going to use it. Let me know down in the comments how you plan on using it. I plan on making so many more of these. I think they're going to do really well at markets for a lower price point bag. When I say lower price point, I don't mean $20. I mean charge for your material, charge for your time. Don't sell yourself short. I think I'm going to go make another one of these. Until next time, friends, I will see ya.